Hey, welcome back to the Uncomfortable is Okay podcast. I'm your host, Chris Desmond. This is a show where we help you get better at doing hard things. Today, in this mini episode, I want to talk about another strategy that you can use for helping get through the uncomfortable. This one I am calling the running commentary. So what is it? Sometimes we get so wrapped up in our thinking that we overwhelm ourselves. We lose the ability to focus on one task. We notice muscular tension in our neck, our face, our shoulders and backs, and our breathing becomes shallower and more rapid. The running commentary is a tool to use to slow down the thought processes, focus the mind, and relax the body. While you're performing a task with some physical movement associated with it, commentate on what it is that you're doing. So for example, walk to the fridge, open the door, get out the milk, close the door, walk to the bench, unscrew the lid, pour the milk, screw the lid back on, walk to the fridge, open the door, put the milk on the shelf, close the door. Make sure that you commentate on every action, or at least as many as you can if you're moving quickly. And you can either do this in your head or you can say it out loud, depending on how comfortable you are with each of them and what situation you're in at the time. Keep up this commentary until you've finished the task. And what you should notice is that your thoughts have started to slow down. They shouldn't be fizzing around in your head like a Barocca thrown into a glass of water anymore. You should also notice that you've let go of some of the muscular tension that you were hanging on to. And using this technique is like pumping the brake to slow down your mind before it completely slides out of control. And by slowing down your mind, you slow down your body as well. So where do I apply it? This strategy is best applied in the moment. And I want you to utilize it when you begin to notice your thoughts running away with you. You might find you're having difficulty concentrating. You might be stuck in the same thought loop that you just can't get out of. You might first of all notice tension in your body. And when this happens, your arousal levels have moved too far to the right on that optimal anxiety curve, and you're losing performance. When you become aware of any of these symptoms, it's time to action the running commentary. If you're sitting down at your desk or you're doing something that doesn't involve much movement, now is a really good time to get up and to go and do something else. So you could go and make yourself a cup of tea or coffee, you could unload the dishwasher or do the dishes, or something else that involves some physical movement, preferably using your hands. And sometimes commentating on a short task is enough to slow you down. Sometimes you need to commentate a couple of short tasks back to back, or pick something longer if things are really fizzing away for you. So the strategy in action. A couple of days ago, I came back from a walk with my son and our dog in the morning. And to be honest, this should have been a really relaxing time. The air was cool, it was still, there were a whole lot of stars out, and I was with two pretty epic creatures. But what I got wrapped up in was my to-do list. I had a lot of things that I needed to get done, and I'd had a few poor sleeps back to back, hadn't exercised for a few days. So once I got back from this walk, my mind was going a million miles an hour, my shoulders were up around my ears, I was really, really wound up. So I fed the dog, I put the baby in his bouncer, and I set about making breakfast. And while I was making breakfast, I commentated everything I did. So from grinding the beans to make the coffee, to getting out the porridge, to sorting out the cutlery, everything that I did had a comment. And 9 minutes later, I'd slowed down. My head wasn't filled anymore with whirling thoughts about all the things that I simply had to do and where I didn't know where I was going to fit them all. I could look at it and I could plan the important ones that I needed to do and not worry so much about the rest. My jaw, my neck, and my upper back were relaxed, and I could turn my head to look over my shoulders, which is great. And then I got to enjoy my breakfast with my family. So why does this strategy work? The prefrontal cortex area of our brain is responsible for our short-term memory and our executive attention network. And this part of our brain monitors the rest of our brain for important signals. It directs our attention to critical issues and helps us be aware of and master our emotions. And with all this action happening here, it's not particularly surprising that it's quite an expensive area of the brain to keep going and to run. It churns through glucose and oxygen, so it's fuel sources like nobody's business. And the prefrontal cortex usually works best on a single focal point at one time. But sometimes when we've got a lot of stuff going on, the prefrontal cortex gets overloaded and fails to do what it should be doing. Your body tries to save energy by simply shutting it down and running other parts of the brain that use less energy. And this happens more frequently at the times that our energy levels are already low. So like the example before of me sleeping poorly and not exercising, my energy levels were already depleted. I was at the point where I was getting overloaded and overwhelmed. So repetitive thinking and fidgeting replaces alert, goal-orientated action. And studies have actually shown that we often spend between 30 and 50% of our time in this state. And we wonder why it's hard to get anything productive done. Running a commentary of what you're doing reduces the overload. We focus on the actions that we're performing, which doesn't allow for rumination. And that's why it's really important to be doing something physical, preferably with your hands, because it's easier to focus there. And this focus on a simple physical activity reduces the signals that the prefrontal cortex is receiving, because our thoughts aren't bouncing around wildly, creating a whole lot of kind of neural fuzz. And with this reduction in our signal load, your body has the capacity to start up the prefrontal cortex again. And you can start to focus your attention and get that executive function back up and running. And while you're likely still not going to be working in your optimal state, and you probably need to put some recovery and relaxation work in to get back to optimal, this strategy can pull you out of the discomfort in the moment. So I'd love to hear where and how you applied this running commentary strategy. And this strategy is one of the ones that is going to be coming out in my upcoming book, Get Out of My Comfort Zone, an Expert Guide to Doing Hard Shit, which, if you're interested in, you can jump over to getoutofmycomfortzone.com, pop your email address in, I'll send you through a few strategies, I'll keep you up to date with how the book is tracking along, and I'll hook you up with some discounts when it arrives. So that's getoutofmycomfortzone.com if this is something that you're interested in reading when it comes out. Good luck going and putting the strategy into action. Thank you so much for getting uncomfortable with me today.